VMX Show Season 4.
Hello, and welcome to the VMX Show. This is Season 4, Episode 4. So it's like World 4-4. It's a castle. I don't fucking know. Started off with a little music from Chronicles of a Dark Lord, Episode 1, Tides of Fate for Windows. Played that on my channel for about a half hour a couple of weeks ago. I told the whole story behind that last week's show. The company Kazareth Studios contacted me because they liked my videos, sent me a free copy of the game, and now we're doing all sorts of things together. The co-founder and CEO of Kazareth Studios, Tanya Botello, agreed to do an interview, so we'll get to that later. That song was called Dark Mistresses. Ooh. Creepy, yeah. It's a great game. I've been playing it. I'm about 10 hours into it, and it's a blast. It's a great RPG, so I do recommend that. And of course, we're working on doing a cross-promotion. There'll be a giveaway on the channel, which we'll talk about more in the interview. But for now, let's get to your questions and comments. So let's see. Vitaly97 says, what is one game series that you think should never have started in the first place, or stopped after the first one to keep its credibility? That's an easy one. I would say Tomb Raider. I know that they're rebooting it again, and that it's supposedly good again. But, really, I always have this conversation with people. I'll say, I can't stand those fucking Tomb Raider games. It's just, they're not even good. But they're like, well, the first one was good. I like the exploration. I'm like, yeah, but then it got out of hand. And each one was worse and worse and worse. So that's the answer to that. Tomb Raider, easily. I'm sure the new game will be, a big success, but, I don't care. At this point, people are saying, oh, well, it looks like Uncharted, and then people were saying, well, Uncharted was sort of a Tomb Raider ripoff anyway, and to me, I just look at the Uncharted games, and I say, well, that's what Tomb Raider should have been from the get-go. That's what it should have been all along. So definitely Tomb Raider there. Adelanoth says, I know you've said your favorite games, but what is the worst game you've ever played? Definitely Crazy Bus on the Sega Genesis. That was absolutely nuts. I don't even get the point of that. I did a video on it, so you can check that out. Jazzmaster909 says, Hey Necro, great show as always. Last week I asked about video game bosses. Now I want to know, who is your favorite and least favorite comic book supervillain? My favorite comic book supervillain, although this guy is kind of become not so much of a villain anymore and more of an anti-hero as of late, I would say definitely Sinestro. There's a lot of great qualities there that make him a really good villain. I don't want to get too much into it, but if you saw the Green Lantern movie, which by the way was a pretty good movie, he was in that, and he wasn't a villain yet, because that's sort of the thing with him, he starts off as a good guy, and you could see that, the qualities I'm talking about in him, that later when he, kind of gives into his arrogance and becomes a villain, and even later on sort of an anti-hero. And we'll be talking about villains and anti-heroes in the interview later on. You could tell what I'm talking about. As for least favorite, I used to say that it was Darkseid, because I thought, like, oh god, they're doing another fucking story with Darkseid. But I thought that Grant Morrison did an amazing job with him in Final Crisis, so he's now, like, not my least favorite. So I don't know, least favorite, I don't think I have a least favorite villain. So I'm gonna pass on that for now. So moving on. Here we have a comment from Usora. Says, hey, thanks for answering my question. So here are some more. What are some good RPGs for the PlayStation Portable or DS that you can recommend? I played or am playing quite a lot on the DS, including Final Fantasy 3 and 4, Castlevania, Final Fantasy Tactics, The World Ends With You, and Chrono Trigger. And I'm not a fan of Zelda games. Thanks a lot. Let me answer that question first. If you played Final Fantasy Tactics on the DS, I assume you mean Grimoire of the Rift. You definitely should get the remake of the original game on the PSP. The PSP is a great system for RPGs. I mean, you got the Lunar games, you got the Ys games. They're a little bit more Zelda-esque, but I think they're actually, they're different. I actually have a little bit more fun playing Ys than I have playing Zelda lately, so I don't know if that would be a good ringing endorsement for you or not. And of course, there's Final Fantasy 1, 2, and 4 on the PlayStation Portable. On the DS, there's Lufia on the DS. There's Etrian Odyssey 1, 2, and 3. Ys 1 and 2 are also on the DS. On the PSP for the Ys series, you can get 1, 2, 3, 6, and 7. And I would highly recommend Ys 7. What else? Tactics Ogre is on the PSP. That's another huge one. And if you like that kind of strategy stuff, also on the DS, there's Fire Emblem, which is a pretty big thing. So let's move on to your other question. Another question. What do you think of the King of Fighters fighting games? It's my favorite fighting game franchise, and I think it's better than Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat, but it doesn't seem to have much mainstream success. I do really like the King of Fighters series. I would say it's overall better than Mortal Kombat. Not as good as Street Fighter. And I'm a big fan of Mortal Kombat, especially the new game, Mortal Kombat 9, or just called Mortal Kombat. That is one of the best fighting games out there. But as a whole, considering the entire series, I would put King of Fighters above it. I really do like the series. And I think the reason that it never really caught on mainstream success is because it was on Neo Geo to begin with, and it wasn't on like Super NES and Sega Genesis and PlayStation. I mean, it wasn't PlayStation, but they were ports, And now that it's on, like Xbox 360 and PS3, it's getting a little more attention. But King of Fighters 12 was a little disappointing because there's literally no story mode or arcade mode to speak of. So there's that going on there too. Looking forward to 13, though. It's out in Japan. It isn't out here yet, but I heard it's a major improvement. So we have a comment from Dreadnought2448. Hey, Necro, great episode. I'm really enjoying the 4th season of the VMX show. I'm glad to hear that. My question is, do you take requests for free internet games? If so, my request is Rockman 7 FC. He's talking about a Windows version of Mega Man 7, which was made to have 8-bit graphics. No, I don't take requests for homemade games or internet games or anything like that. unless it's requested by the person who made the game. In that case, I'll do it. And then we go on, and I normally I would ignore this, but I do want to, talk about this very briefly and get this, into this guy's head. He says, if not, then my request is Mega Man 8 for the PlayStation or Saturn, depending on which version you can get to work. Okay, I'm just going to say this real loud. I don't take PlayStation or Saturn requests. Read the channel info. Thank you. There's a full list of requests that... listen to me. There's a full list of systems that I take requests for right on my channel. And you know what? I'm going to be super nice and read it out to you right now. These are the systems I take requests for. Atari, 2600, 5200, 7800, Lynx, Game Boy, Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance, NES, Super NES, Nintendo 64, Master System, Game Gear, Genesis, 32X, Sega CD, ColecoVision, and Television, Neo Geo, TurboGrafx, 16, and Super Graphics. So, nothing from any other systems. I don't take those requests. I don't know why people keep requesting PlayStation games. Speaking of which, PlayStation games, Josie Gregg asks if I can recommend any Zelda-style games for the original PlayStation. That one's a bit rough, but the one game that comes to mind is Brave Fencer Musashi, which is sort of an adventure game mixed with an RPG. Definitely has sort of Zelda-esque or East-style combat to it, and it's got a lot of humor, a very fun game, so I would recommend that. It's probably most well-known because it came with the demo of Final Fantasy VIII, which we know turned out to be a disaster, but Brave Fencer Musashi was really cool. Sigma9.net, what a name, Sigma9.net says, question and comment for the next show. I was recently watched Guster on the Ocean in your favorites, and it was quite thought-provoking. Do you know any other songs similar to that mood or style? He's got more, but let me answer that. That's funny. Funny story behind the Guster thing. I'd never heard of the band, I'd never heard the song, and I was actually eating dinner in a Ruby Tuesdays, and I was sitting there, and I was just about to leave. I was waiting for the check, and this song came on the satellite radio thing that they have, and I'm like, wow, that's a really, really good song, and I'd never heard it before. And they were playing mostly like classic rock and modern like major hits, but I'd never heard that song before, and I kind of just like made a mental note to remember a few of the lyrics and look it up when I got home, and I came up with Guster on the Ocean. And the reason that I was so attracted to that song is because it reminded me of a band called Anathema, who recently had an amazing album last year. It was the best album of last year, in my opinion. The album is called We're Here Because We're Here. The band is Anathema. A-N-A-T-H. You know what? I'll go to YouTube and I'll favorite one of the songs from it for you, so you'll see it there. And you can kind of get an idea of what that's all about. So, yeah. Definitely, if you'd like the Guster, Anathema is way better, but the reason I liked the Guster song is because it reminded me of Anathema. He says, I'll throw in a gaming-related question, too. Favorite and least favorite game controllers ever? As always, great show, exceptional channel, the only person I've ever subscribed to and watched regularly on YouTube. Introduced a few friends in the UK to you, too. Thanks for the channel, dude. Well, thanks for spreading the word. Favorite controller, that's interesting, I gotta say, that's a tough one, because I do have a few favorites. I think I like the original DualShock quite a lot. And of course, that follows a DualShock and DualShock 2 and DualShock 3. The thing is, I feel that they keep using the same controller design over and over again, and they really should mix it up some, which is, they're not moving forward, but that original controller design for the time is amazing. Least favorite controller, it's easy to bag on things like the controller for the Jaguar or anything, but I've never actually held it in my hands, so least favorite controller that I've ever actually used was the Sega Genesis controller. There's nothing really too wrong with it, but it's very uncomfortable to hold in your hands, at least in my opinion. Just a little bit, just an hour playing Sega Genesis would make my hands hurt. Maybe that's just me, though. I don't know. There's a lot worse controllers out there, but I'm just thinking of the ones that I've actually used. Splashfire 0x asks me, what is your favorite and least favorite video game developer? I don't like these questions where I have to have favorite and least favorite, Can't you just ask one or the other? My favorite game developer is probably Capcom. Least favorite? I don't know. I don't think about it much. I don't, if I don't like a company's games, I don't buy them. Circulation 2-on-1 says, you've played a lot of pretty bad games. You could probably tell a crap title before you even have the chance to play it. Well, that's not fair. I do tend to give things a fair shake. I'll have an opinion as to whether or not it's going to be good or bad, but sometimes I'll be wrong. And he says, what is the most surprisingly good game that you've played with the expectations of it being terrible? I'll say that's a good question. That's a decent question, because there are games that you go into it where you're like, oh man, this is just going to suck all sorts of, ass and dick and balls, and then you play it and you're like, hey, actually, this is pretty good. This is not bad at all. Recent example? I don't know. Sometimes I get requests for older games, and I'm like, oh, this sounds bad, and then it turns out to be okay. Well, here's an example of not like a really great game. Jaws on the NES. I mean, it wasn't great. It was made by LGN. It was very limited, but it was a fun distraction, and I expected it to be bottom of the barrel crap. So I do get games like that. That was surprisingly good. It's an average game. I expected it to be shit, though. Mr. Sandman XJ9 says, are there any specific features you would like to see in Skyrim? Well, there are things I can mention, but there are things that I know are in the game, so like better stealth aspects, fixing the archery so that you don't have to pump 60 arrows into an enemy to kill it at high levels. So I think they're on the right track with Skyrim. So I don't really have anything that, I definitely would like to see them get rid of the everything leveling with you, but it seems they're doing a nice compromise there anyway. Awesome Gamer says, next March, should I get the PlayStation 3 or wait for the next PlayStation console? Well, I mean, if you're talking about next March, you might as well just get the PS3, because the closer they get to announcing the PlayStation 4, the cheaper the PlayStation 3 will get. And you don't really know anything about the PlayStation 4. Nobody really knows anything about it, so I couldn't recommend it or not recommend it. Last Exile Zero says, so you'd rather play a 30-hour game you'll never beat, right? Haha, Logic Bear Trap. That was from the interview. And 666 Skater Cal 666 responds. He said, I would, though. And it's true. And he's honest. Razarath92 says, what is your favorite novel, graphic novel, short story, and novella? Why do you got to ask me so many things? P.S. Sorry for comment on last week's show. I'd forgotten about comment lag and tried again when that one didn't work, or at least I thought it didn't work. I posted it to your channel. Won't leave comments like that again. Yeah, you only need to do it once. All right. I'll answer my favorite novel, and then we're moving on. My favorite novel is probably The Stand by Stephen King. Dave Cornfan says, great episode, man. It's great that you became friends with Kazareth Studios. Have you ever listened to a podcast called Heart of Gaming? No, I have not. I think you would really like it. Blah, 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 blah. Okay. Don't really need to push other people's stuff. It's cool. 666 SkaterCal 666 says, thanks for having me on. Good choice in pre-interview music. I think I use that Zelda thing, and I did check out your channel, man. I was watching you. I swear, I was watching a video where you're on the third level of the Dark World, and I'm like, okay, let me skip ahead, because he's been in this room for forever. So I skipped halfway through the video, and you're still in the same room. And then I skip to the end of the video, and you're still in the same room. And I don't know how it happens, but it's amazing. It's amazing. Game Eternal 777 says, when you get the hard copies of Chronicles of a Dark Lord, can you show what it looks like in a short video and where to buy it? I don't purchase downloadable games. I want to hold it in my hands and see it on my shelf. I fully agree, and of course I'm going to do that. I'm actually getting 2 copies of it, and one of them I'm going to actually be giving away on the channel, so there's definitely going to be a video where I show what it looks like and everything. As for where to buy it, just check out Kazareth Studios' Facebook page is probably the best place to look. They have a website, but they're sort of retooling it right now. So just look them up on Facebook, Kazareth Studios. Ice Skater 71 says, I think it's unbelievably cool that you made box art for an indie company. I purchased Chronicles of a Dark Lord on Gamersgate earlier on, and you're so right about it. Great game. Some of the lines in it are really funny, too. Are you going to do an actual LP of it, or are you going to wait for the sequel? I probably will do a Let's Play of it, but I want to do it after I beat it. I'm playing it for the first time now, and I'm 10 hours into it. So I just want to make sure there's no huge surprises that you would not want to show up in a Let's Play. Hey Necro, great. Oh, I'm sorry. This is Home Video presents. Home Video presents. Hey Necro, great show. Have you played The Witcher 2? Because it's a great game. If so, what do you think of it? Well, I'm sorry. No, that was Future Gamer 24. Little confusion there. I'm sorry. I haven't played it, and I'm not really that interested. Adelanoth says, have you played the second Dragon Age yet? If so, have you completed it, and what are your thoughts on it? I haven't played it. I'm waiting. I'm kind of waiting on that because I when I bought Dragon Age Origins, I bought the Ultimate Edition, which contained the original game, the expansion, which was Dragon Age Origins Awakenings, and then like 7 DLC packs all built into it and everything. And that was really cool because I didn't have to worry about missing out on anything. They just released a Dragon Age 2 DLC recently, so I'm waiting for them to kind of be done with that and hopefully release a version that has everything. Nightwing45304 says, I roared at your reaction. Awesome show, man. I'm not sure what you mean, but I'm just going to move on. SMTKR says, I'm curious to know if you're aware of Trine 2 and if you're looking forward to it. I'm aware of it, but as for looking forward to it, it's sort of not on my radar. Chubby Luigi says, I personally think they shouldn't have rushed Duke Nukem Forever out the door and into stores, but seriously, this game is pretty cool. I'm glad I saved my pre-order ticket. Love the little bits. Well, I'm glad you're enjoying it. Not too many people actually enjoying that game, so I'm glad that you feel like you got your money's worth. CoolVids19 says, LOL, I laughed so hard when you read the definition of brony. I don't know if that's how you spell it. No, it's actually B-R-O-N-Y, and I don't know. The things people come up with. Cobra DVS says, hey Necro, I got a lot of comments today. I like this. I like getting a lot of comments. Hey Necro, loving the new season so far. Here's a question. Why do you think it is so much harder to get involved in making consoles today as opposed to back in the 70s and 80s? I mean, we basically have 3 home consoles, excluding PC of course, but back in the 70s and early 80s there were tons. 2600, Intellivision, ColecoVision, Odyssey 2, among others. Thanks. Well, yeah, I think part of it is that the cost is much more because the technology, of course, is much more. And the costs involved, it makes it harder to actually make a console that's going to be competitive. This really shows in the fact that there aren't only 3 consoles out there. There are other consoles out there, but they're just not successful. I mean, especially in the handheld gaming market. I mean, you think of DS and PSP, but I mean, do you remember things that would pop up like Gizmondo and N-Gage, and they would sort of like you'd see a section for that shit in GameStop for like 2 weeks, and then it would completely disappear. You know, things are very competitive. You have to be really good to compete. So I think it's sort of cutting the wheat from the chaff, so to speak. E11 Network says, what do you think about Paper Mario The Thousand Year Door, my favorite game ever? I beat it my 10th time, and I finished around 30 hours since I remember it so much. I would recommend you move on to another game. I love Paper Mario The Thousand Year Door. Great game, and it is one of my favorite RPGs and one of my favorite GameCube games. But really, dude, you're playing the same game over and over again. There are so many other games out there that you can play. Just move on to something else. I'm glad you got your money's worth out of it and that you really like it and everything, but there's a world of stuff out there that you haven't experienced, and you're missing out if you're just playing the same one over and over again. Dark Phil Pick 28 says, I hear rumors that Lucas claims, must be referring to George Lucas, that he's rebooting his original Star Wars movies. Thoughts? I haven't heard this, and I don't believe it. Mr. Kennedy 99 says, what are your... Oh, okay, never mind. I'm not answering that. That's the stupidest question I've ever heard. So finally, that would say XX, the Next Gen Gamer XX says epic robot voice. Must be referring to the intro that I have now. VMX show season 4, but it's like a robot voice. A lot of people were kind of thrown by that because it's so different from what I've done for the first 3 seasons. So anyway, that's the questions and comments. A lot of good stuff. I'm glad I got so many questions and comments this week, and I hope you give me even more next week. So leave me your questions and comments on this video, or private message me, or email me, or whatever, as long as I get it, and as long as it's not something incredibly, amazingly stupid, I will address it on the next show. So let's get to the news. I have a bunch of great news stories, some not so great news stories, but let's talk about PlayStation Vita. Now, I have a couple of conflicting reports as to when the PlayStation Vita will come out, and really just nobody really knows when this thing is going to come out, of course, that nothing official has been announced. But it seems to be that there's some conflicting reports out there about, leaks and when it's actually going to come out. For example, there is a shop on the internet called shop2.net that operates out of the UK, and according to them, the PlayStation Vita will be released November 4th. In the UK, at a cost of $278.84, that's in pounds, of course, for the 3G version, and $279.99 for the. I don't know. That seems weird. Never mind that. But anyway, yeah, it's a rumor, it's speculation. So November 4th would certainly be a very strong release date. But there's an Amazon pre-order out there that claims that it will miss the holiday season and that it'll come out somewhere in January of 2012. I think they need to have it come out by the end of the year. Well, we'll see what happens with PlayStation Vita. So 2 conflicting reports there, and keep in mind, nothing is official. Now, here's the kind of story I hate to do. This is very sad, but a 5-year-old boy was beaten to death by his mother after breaking the television with a Wii remote. So that's just terrible. The 5-year-old boy's name was Jamar Johnson. He lived in the Bronx in New York. And this actually happened on June 13th. His mother, whose name was Kim Crawford, saw that he broke the television with the Wii remote, which is kind of a common thing, and that she was so furious that she hit him several times in the stomach and back, and he died from internal injuries. So that's just a sad thing, and honestly, I think that this kind of thing, it paints the whole industry and gaming in general as just a very negative light. I mean, it's bad enough we have idiots out there claiming that gamers are hyper violent and whatnot, and and then something like this happens. So wow. So let's move on to slightly better news. Duke Nukem Forever is not doing so well. I mean, it sold okay, but not getting good reviews. So what are they doing? They're remaking Duke Nukem 3D. It's a Danish studio called Interceptor Entertainment, and they're making a remake of Duke Nukem called Duke Nukem 3D Reloaded. And it's a non-commercial game. It will be free, and they have been given the blessing of Gearbox Software, who developed Duke Nukem Forever. And they even have John St. John, the official voice of Duke Nukem, to record all new dialogue for the title. And they are using the Unreal Engine 3. And, I mean, it's kind of an amazing thing that they're doing that. So hopefully people who, got Duke Nukem Forever and kind of were underwhelmed by it will get to play the original game, remade with modern graphics and hopefully some new humor. And hopefully it won't suck. Okay, now this is another sad story, Bill. This isn't sad. This is more pathetic sad. But it's sort of a weird story. There's an eBay auction out there from a user. His eBay username is KBTone251. And when I saw this, my jaw hit the ground. He's selling a Super NES system with controllers and accessories and 18 games. And let me tell you exactly what he's selling. You're getting the Super Nintendo, Super NES system with the original box, the instructional manuals, and even the original receipt from when he bought it. I don't know why he kept it, but there you have it. The mouse and mouse pad for Mario Paint, and the official Nintendo Super NES game cartridge holder. That doesn't seem like it would be a selling point, but these are the games you get: Mega Man X, Mega Man X3, Super Mario World 2 Yoshi's Island, Super Mario Kart, Super Mario All-Stars, Super Mario All-Stars plus Super Mario World, Mario Paint, Donkey Kong Country 2, Donkey Kong Country 3, Contra 3, Turtles 4, Turtles in Time, Secret of Mana, Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past, Aladdin, Killer Instinct, and Top Gear 2. And how much was he asking for it? $150,000. And I said, is this guy out of his mind? $150,000 for a Super NES and a couple of games? You got to be out of your mind. So I went to the auction to see what this guy had to say for himself, and he has this ridiculous sob story. And this is what he says. This is my original Super Nintendo Entertainment System. It is in mint condition, comes in original box with all instructions, retail price sticker on the box, and I even have the original receipt of purchase. Date, October 11, 1991. Most of the games I have are really rare, not true. The game titles are listed below. The only rare game he has is Mega Man X3 and perhaps the Super Mario All-Stars plus Super Mario World. Although I don't get it. If you have Super Mario World and you have Super Mario All-Stars, why do you go ahead and buy that? That doesn't make sense, but okay. I have the system and collected these games since I was a kid, and it's hard to let go of. I remember opening up the system for my birthday and playing the system all day and all night, and each day saving up my allowances to buy each of these games. Sure, I could always find another system and the same game someday, but it's something about this that it was my original. I hate to tell a sad story, because I'm one that usually never expects anything or asks anyone for anything, except for $150,000 for your fucking Super Nintendo. But truth is, I am overwhelmed with debt and barely making ends meet, so I thought I should find the most valuable thing to me that I have, and hopefully someone would be so kind and find it in their heart to purchase the system and games from me. I would really appreciate it more than you'll know, and please do not contact me to criticize me. Please understand. Thanks. And it looks like he's changed it a little, because originally he had a note in here that he was hoping that some rich person or like a company will find it in their hearts to buy this from him. When I went back to check on the auction a few days later, as of right now, it has 22 days left, so this is a long, long auction. This guy's in Cincinnati, by the way. I just figured I'd mention that. I have a few friends in Cincinnati, Joey and Charmaine. I said, if you ever see this guy, just give him a slap from me. And I went back a few days later to check on the auction to see what was going on. He's had, 19 offers made so far. It's a buy it now auction. And he's declined all of them. I assume that these offers were probably reasonable, but he didn't want any reasonable offers. He wanted insane offers. But now the price has been lowered. It was originally $149,000. Now it's $1,499, which is significantly less, and it makes me think maybe he had a typo in there originally, like he didn't put a decimal point. So for this, 0 cents, and he just put 00 at the end without a decimal point. But still, and he took out the part about rich people or companies perhaps buying it from him as a show of charity, which is ridiculous because it's not tax deductible anyway. That's not a donation. That's a purchase. This guy, I don't know what his problem is, but nobody's going to buy that. You'd have to be out of your mind. So I just wanted to do that so you can all laugh at this guy. Good news for fans of LA Noire. It's coming to PC. It's happening this fall with 3D support and improved graphics. Now, this is a little bit of a surprise to some people because Rockstar's previous game Red Dead Redemption did not appear on PC, which was kind of a big deal to a lot of people, but this one will. And I think that the reason that LA Noire is appearing on the PC, but Red Dead Redemption was not, was because LA Noire sort of has its roots in old computer adventure games, so there's that too. I talked about this very briefly earlier, the new Dragon Age 2 downloadable content. That will be shown at Comic-Con, as well as a playable version of Mass Effect 3, so that's good news from BioWare. Here's one for the rumor mill. Electronic Arts, that's EA Games, might be looking to purchase the developer PopCap Games, the makers of big casual gaming hits such as Bejeweled and Plants vs. Zombies. So they say that EA is in late-stage acquisition discussions to pick up PopCap Games, which would really give them a huge edge. We'll see what happens with that. They got new downloads for the Nintendo stores. So this is what's new this week. Let's see. For the Nintendo 3DS and the eShop, you can get Pro Jumper Guilty Gear Tangent. That's $4.99. Run, jump, and towel attack to collect apples and successfully bypass the legions bent on Chimaki's destruction. Chimaki from Guilty Gear 2 stars in this quirky platformer for Nintendo DSiWare service. So I assume it says 3DS, but I assume it's also available on DSi. Chimaki is a tiny creature with an insatiable lust for life. Something of a recluse, he ventures out of his hermitage on occasion to seek the truth. What goes on behind that implacable face is a mystery, perhaps even to Chimaki himself. Make use of Chimaki's run, jump, and towel attacks to collect apples, successfully bypass the legions bent on destruction, and reach the hot spring located at the end of each stage. Chimaki is a lover, not a fighter. As such, a mere 2 hits will cause him to explode. Well, he's a little tougher than that in Guilty Gear. On DSiWare, you can get Stratego the Next Edition, also for $5. Become the greatest general of all time. In Stratego Next Edition, you must demonstrate your strategic skills in the battlefield. So it's Stratego. What do you expect? It's available for DSiWare and the 3DS. Also is Delbo. You can get this for $2. Delbo is a shooting game in which the player shoots an orb to extinguish the same color orbs falling down from the upper side. In other words, it's Bust-A-Move. And on the 3DS Virtual Console, you can get Tennis. I don't have a price for that. Tennis, anyone? The ball is in your court. For fans of the classic video games and of the sport itself, this is one to add to your collection. As seen in the 1989 Game Boy release, this game delivers realistic match play action. How realistic could it be? It was on the Game Boy. And finally, for WiiWare, we have The Mystery of White Rock Castle for 500 Wii points or $5. Experience a thrilling adventure at White Rock Castle as you search for a missing princess, find all the hidden objects in 10 meticulously detailed settings as you get to know the various inhabitants of the rooms of the castle. So an adventure game. Well, actually, it also says it's a board game. So who knows? It's for 2 players, too, so there you go. Speaking of Nintendo, one of the most exciting things that was mentioned at E3 this year, only mentioned, not shown or anything, was Super Smash Bros. There would be a new Super Smash Bros. Game for the 3DS and the Wii U. Well, I do have a little bit of news on that, but don't get too excited. I'm just here to tell you that the game is farther off than you think. Masahiro Sakurai said in an interview they have absolutely no plans as of yet, and all of their attention is focused on Kid Icarus Uprising. Here's a quote. Right now, we're devoting all our manpower to working on Kid Icarus. We've got no plans whatsoever. We've got 2 new games out in the open when there's no extra time to work with them at all. It makes me cringe, and I'm not sure it's the smartest things to make gamers wait for several years. But the early announcement was made chiefly in order to attract new team members. So there's that. So Kid Icarus Uprising is what they're working on now. They are going to be doing a Super Smash Bros. For the 3DS and the Wii U. It will likely have some sort of simultaneous release on both platforms, but it's a few years off, so don't get too excited. Here's something for fans of Team Fortress 2, or perhaps people who always thought about playing it. It is now free to play. So if you want to try Team Fortress 2, it's been around for 4 years. There's been over 200 updates, countless sandwiches, boinks, and cart pushing. Valve has announced that Team Fortress 2 new free-to-play status is part of an ongoing Uber update. So there's that too. Talk very briefly about the Elder Scrolls V Skyrim, which is coming to Xbox 360, PlayStation 3, and games for Windows. Talk about the pre-order bonuses. Now, usually I would not talk about a pre-order bonus because I think they're lame. They give you in-game content that other people will have to pay for or that is already on the disc, and I think it's stupid. But Skyrim, they might be doing it properly. Usually what they do with the Elder Scrolls is they have a regular edition and a special edition that contains all sorts of goodies. Like, for example, the special edition of Oblivion had that coin and a few other things in there. And I think like a making-of DVD or something. I don't know. I got the Game of the Year edition. But people who pre-order Skyrim will receive a high-quality version of the map. It's called a premium map, and it's going to be made out of like parchment or burlap or something. People who get the game normally will still get the map, but it'll be a typical glossy paper version. So that's pretty cool. Kind of harkens back to the old PC gaming days, Ultima and whatnot. Here's something for the Street Fighter fans out there. The world of Street Fighter is coming to HeroClix. If you don't know what HeroClix is, it's sort of a board game RPG thing that has been played with all all sorts of characters. There's been DC characters, there's been Marvel characters, there's been movie monsters, there's been Halo, Aliens vs. Predator, Freddy vs. Jason. Now they're going to add Street Fighter characters, so there's that. So it's sort of a strategy RPG played with figurines. It's, very complicated, but also very popular with certain types of people. So if you're into HeroClix and you're into Street Fighter, this is the news stories for you. Here's another sad story for fans of Star Wars Galaxies. An MMO that's been around for a long time is coming to an end. Star Wars Galaxies will be closing in the end of this year. The service will run through December 15th, but they'll be turning off the game's purchase availability in September and offering it for free for those 3 months remaining until 2012 rolls around. They think that they're doing this because of Star Wars The Old Republic is coming out next year, and that, basically everybody's going to jump ship anyway. But for people who played it for years and years, this is the end. So sad to say that. And here's my final news story, and this is a cool one. Nintendo has been trying to go back to the core, so to speak, trying to get so-called hardcore gamers interested in the Wii U. But the Wii is still around, and there are some games that would appeal to more, say, hardcore gamers that are only coming out in Japan. Talking about Xenoblade, which is an RPG, The Last Story, which is another RPG, and Pandora's Tower, which is an action-adventure game sort of in the style of Castlevania. Now, there is currently a huge, huge fan campaign of letter writing to get these games in America. And if you agree that these 3 games should be localized, if you're interested in The Last Story, Xenoblade, and Pandora's Tower, then what you really want to do is be involved in this. So you can send them letters, you can send them emails. There's also a sit-in happening on their Facebook page. Just go to Facebook, find Nintendo's page, hit like, and then just leave them a comment letting them know that you want these games to come out in America. There's when I first saw this news story, there were nearly 1,000 comments. As of today, there are nearly 3,000 comments. I left a comment myself. I think it's a huge thing. They do need to bring these games, these really amazing looking games that could really change the way that people look at the Wii, especially now. And what I said really holds true. Pikmin 3 was announced for the Wii U. I was kind of pissed off about that. I feel that after Zelda Skyward Sword, there's really not much to look forward to. I guess Kirby Wii I would look forward to, but really nothing else. So this would be another 3 games to look forward to on the Wii. If you want to send them a snail mail letter, send it to Reginald Fils-Aimé, President and CEO of Nintendo, care of Nintendo of America, 4820 150th Avenue Northeast, Redmond, Washington, 98052. Let them know you're a fan of Nintendo, you've been around for a long time, you're extremely excited about these games, and you really want them to come out in America. So there you have it. So that's it for the news. Let's get Tanya in here. Tanya is the co-founder and CEO of Kazareth Studios, who made the Chronicles of a Dark Lord game. She graciously agreed to come on the show and talk about that, so let's bring her in here. And here today on the show we have, okay, am I saying this right? Tanya Botello?
Yes.
Botello. And you are one of the founders and CEO of Kazareth Studios, which I just learned 5 minutes ago I was saying wrong the whole time. So, why don't you tell me a little bit about Kazareth and how it got started?
Well, actually, Kazareth Studios started a very long time ago. The inception of it began a long time ago on AOL Online Roleplay.
I remember that.
Yes. I was an avid AOL role player for about 17 years, since I was very young.
You stuck with it really long time, huh?
I did. I really did. And the premise for our first game came from that role play, and my main character, which is Magus Draken Lee. And that's where the main story really came from, and just kind of expanded from there.
So it almost has like a pen and paper origin to it.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, the origins of it stem from, like I said, the role play chat rooms and whatnot, and it was just really, really cool how it all came together one night where me and my co-founder, we just sat down one day and we just said, this could really translate very well into a game, so why not?
Yeah. And your co-founder, that's your brother, correct?
Yes. His name is Richard Hall. And
you guys started Kazareth together, and that was when? Like about 2 years ago, I think?
About 2 years ago,
About 2 years ago. And you have one game out already and another one on the way.
Yes.
So why don't you tell me a little bit about Chronicles of a Dark Lord? Obviously, I've played it, but tell my viewers a little bit more about it.
Sure. Well, the first episode 1, Tides of Fate, that one's already been released, and it is basically the introduction to the story of Magus Drakenlee. He is known as the Dark Lord of the Ring Kingdoms. Basically, the premise of the entire story is that instead of playing as the quintessential hero, or even what's known as the anti-hero, you're actually playing as a villain type.
He's blatantly evil.
Oh yeah, he's blatantly evil, but he's dressed up in anti-hero coding. Mm-hmm. So you get to actually witness as he evolves throughout the story, from being a truly totalitarian, evil man,
an asshole.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. From a complete bastard to something a little more.
Maybe something resembling human.
Something, yeah, exactly.
Now, and I just wanted to stress something because you said first episode and introduction, that this is episodic content, but this is in no way a short title at all.
Oh, no. Episode 1, you're guaranteed to be at least 20 hours, not 25 or 30.
Yeah, and knowing me, it'll probably be like 30 because I like to dick around. Well, I'm not keeping track of it. I don't know. Does the game keep track of it? I haven't noticed.
Oh yeah, it's
on the save file or something.
It's a save file, and when you go into the menu screen, it's right there too.
Now, I did have somebody asking me if this was available for Mac.
Actually, we've actually gotten that and Linux quite a few times. Questions about those two platforms, and even though we'd love to, at this point in time, we can't. There is a way for people to play the game on Linux and Mac. There are emulators you can use, Windows emulators that you can use and download. Some are free, some are not. We would, for those people who want to play the game on Mac or on Linux, we definitely suggest using an emulator.
And you guys have been trying to break through into consoles as well.
We actually have been. We have been so far unsuccessful, but we are trying to break into the PSP, and we are actually going to be porting episode 1 over to XBLA. Xbox.
That's exciting.
That is very exciting.
That's exciting.
Yes. So while we're working with episode 2, we're going to be working on the port for Xbox. So that's going to be really cool.
Okay, so that's confirmed. That's actually happening.
Yeah, it is actually.
That is
confirmed.
very cool.
I can't tell you exactly how long it'll take, but it'll take a bit. But
yeah.
But converting it over, but yeah, it's going to be great. Pretty soon you're going to be able to see it on Xbox Live, and there you go.
That's pretty cool. And will it have like achievements and everything?
I'm sure we'll add a little something there about achievements. Okay. I'm not quite sure how we're going to go about that yet, but we'll see.
Yeah, like I don't know, like killed 30 innocent NPCs or something.
Actually, there's actually a little something in the game. I won't say exactly what, but there's a little something in episode 1 where if you kill a certain amount of NPCs, then something.
Which a lot of times just happens automatically.
Oh yeah. And something happens later on in the game. I can't say what, but something definitely happens.
Okay. Well, I mean, I know I just got to a part where there was a girl that it asked you whether or not you kill her, and I was like, I killed enough people, and she wound up giving me like an elixir or something.
And that's true. Yeah, exactly.
It seems there are rewards for not being a total schmuck.
Yeah, there are definitely rewards for that. And then on the flip side of the coin, there are also subtle rewards for being a total bastard, too.
Of course, yeah. Now, another thing I wanted to talk about, I've played episode 1. People have seen it on the channel. We're going to be doing a giveaway real soon with a signed copy of it, which is going to be really cool. And people should be on the lookout for that. But of course, you're working on episode 2, which is done with the same engine. But you said to me you wanted to really push this engine to its limits. So what kind of new gameplay mechanics would we expect to see in episode 2?
Well, actually, we're going to be introducing what we call the Duo Force system for all battles.
Sounds like an 80s band.
I know, right?
We are Force from Sweden!
Yeah, it's pretty cool, actually. I don't know. I'm sure you remember Chrono Trigger.
Yeah, I was just thinking like dual attack kind of thing.
It's based on that. It's based on that premise, except we take it a step further, and we actually made a whole system out of it.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it is pretty cool. And basically, what you do is that just like in Chrono Trigger, you have your dual techniques and whatnot. But in this case, the system itself is really geared more towards using it more often than you would just your regular attack, if you know what I mean.
Oh, so it's something that would become the normal attack in a way.
It kind of, yeah. It's especially in certain boss battles where it's pretty much imperative that you use Duo Force instead of just trying to attack. I see.
And I assume we'll also be seeing some of the same characters.
Oh, actually, quite a few characters make their return. And actually, and I won't say who again, but I will say that there are characters that were from episode 1 who you could not play as that you can now play as in episode 2.
Okay, so that's cool. And that you also mentioned that was going to be your farewell to the RPG Maker engine.
Yes,
and you're going to move on to Unity. Now, I've never heard of the Unity engine.
I don't know if you were. It was featured in Game Informer once. Have you ever heard of Sonic Fan Remix?
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, they use Unity.
Oh, okay. So would it be 3D like that, or are you going to keep it on the two-dimensional plane?
We're going to keep it on the two-dimensional plane, but the landscapes one are probably going to be 2.5D. You know, we're gonna bring it up to that level. It's going to be all high-resolution graphics. If you know Final Fantasy IV PSP, it'll be along those lines.
Wow, and I've been playing the hell out of that.
Yeah, so have I.
I just what did I do today? I got all the summons except for the Bahamut. So. Oh,
you didn't get Bahamut yet?
Yeah, that's the last one I usually get because that cave is such a bitch, you know.
Oh, it is. It really is too.
But I try to have, and I wanted to wait until I had like the final party before I went in there because that Fusoya is squishy.
Oh, Fusoya, boy.
He's very squishy. Now, I want to ask what kind of games you play because obviously the RPG elements in Chronicles of a Dark Lord. Just from playing it for a few minutes, I saw a lot of Final Fantasy IV and Lunar, and playing it more, I see elements of Phantasy Star. We talked about that.
Yeah,
and a few other games that I had seen elements of here and there. Other than RPGs, what do you play?
Oh, other than RPGs, I'm actually really into the Doom series. Believe it or not, I love Doom.
Seen my Doom videos?
I actually have. I've actually been looking. I've been looking them over, and I love them. By the way.
Oh, well, I'm glad to hear it.
But it's. But I love me some Doom.
So I'll probably be doing a playthrough of TNT Evolution sometime in the next few months.
Oh, I'll definitely be watching
the official announcement right here.
Oh, see, there we go.
I haven't mentioned it yet, so.
But I love me some Doom. I love oh gosh, what is it? Alice, the new Alice game that just came out.
I haven't played that. I've heard it's kind of like
It's not bad. I prefer the original better, but it's not bad. But I like those kinds of games too, where it kind of takes things to a whole new level. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It has that gothic twist on it.
Of course. Well, American McGee, he worked on Doom, and on designs and everything, and then he made Alice. So it's sort of a natural leap there. Especially if you're a big fan of his levels from Doom.
Oh yeah, definitee.
So there you have that.
I love it. And basically, I like the action adventure type games. I'm not too much into the FPS genre except for Doom. Other than Doom, I'm not really into like Bulletstorm or anything like that. I'm not really into them. I did try them, but not really into them that much.
Okay. And what about other people around the office? Is there like a pretty eclectic mix, or does everybody pretty much have the same tastes?
In terms of RPGs, we all have pretty much the same similar taste. In terms of other genres, we have a very varied role with that. A lot of my guys they like the FPS, the shooters. They love the shmups,
Yeah.
They go all out. Like for instance, my brother, my co-founder, he he loves shooters and FPS and
Yeah.
things like that. So that's the difference between us. But also, it really brings more to the table too.
Well, especially since a lot of modern RPGs have taken influence from other games, other genres. I mean, you play some of the modern RPGs and you see bits of other game design that you would have never seen in a role-playing game, but might fit more into like a platformer or a first-person shooter or something like that.
Oh yeah, I mean, I see it all the time. I mean, look at Mass Effect.
Definitely. I mean, you got a kind of a squad-based third-person shooter kind of shoehorned into like a BioWare computer RPG game.
Exactly.
Which is pretty cool.
It is pretty cool. I mean, I love Mass Effect, and I can't wait till I get my hands on Mass Effect 3.
Speaking of BioWare, were you also a fan of Dragon Age?
I guess I'm going to alienate a couple of people when I say this, but I'm not a big fan of Dragon Age. And it's so weird because most people would think I'm a huge fan of Dragon Age, but honestly, it just never grabbed me. I don't know why. I couldn't tell you why.
I was a big fan of the first game, and I haven't touched the second one yet. I've heard some polarizing things about it, but I don't know. I guess I'll probably like it.
Well,
so we'll see what happens.
I tried the first game out. It didn't really grab me too much. I don't know what it was. Just something didn't really grab me about it. The second one I haven't tried it yet. I'm sure I will, though.
Yeah. Did you play through the first one, or you kind of gave up on it?
I got, I think, about halfway through, and then I just kind of gave up on it.
It is a long game.
It really is. Yeah,
it
definitely
is a very long game. But that, hey, you get more for your money. Now, you said that Chronicles of a Dark Lord, not counting, things like spin-offs or whatever, you're looking at 6 episodes.
We are looking at 6 episodes, 2 trilogies, basically.
Okay.
The first trilogy, obviously, is 1 through 3, and that will wrap up this particular trilogy. And then the next trilogy will involve something very different. Same characters, pretty much, with some new characters and some old characters and whatnot, but it's going to be a different kind of villain and so on and so forth.
Okay. Would you ever expand it beyond that? Like, if it's very successful, would you say, okay, we'll do a 3rd trilogy?
Oh,
or
yes.
do you have a definite end?
No, definitely. We literally have 17 years of story to fall back. So I mean, we could go till episode 300 if we wanted to. Okay. It's just it's just basically how what the fans want, what they're looking for, how they take to it, that sort of thing.
Yeah. Do you see like in say 10 years? Do you see this being like a major series?
I'm going to say this without any modesty whatsoever, but I do foresee us...
Fuck modesty.
I do foresee us pretty much moving over Final Fantasy and saying we're here now.
Okay, so you want that's your goal, is to contend with the mainstream RPGs, and
we do.
Stamp, yeah.
We really do. I mean, I really do think that. I love SquareSoft, Square Enix games. I do. I love their games, but being in competition with them, I think that'd be I think that'd be awesome.
And since you mentioned Square Enix, you're obviously an American developer doing a very Japanese style of gaming. Does that kind of like color your view of it at all, or?
I honestly, I think it translates into the game as that is literally an American developer utilizing a genre that mostly is known, obviously, as a JRPG genre for a reason.
Yeah.
But in this case, being an American developer and having played all these JRPGs all over the years, I wanted to add something to it, a little bit of spice that was missing.
Do you see it ever being localized to Japan?
I would love it to be localized to Japan.
I think there would be a market there. I think they would love it.
I would really hope that. That's one of my dreams, is to have a game over there. That'd be great.
They love that dark gothic aesthetic. You see it in a lot of their, you see it in like the Persona and Catherine and that kind of thing.
Look at Final Fantasy 13 too. I saw the trailer for that.
Very much looking forward to that.
Yeah,
I'm
actually looking forward to that game finally. 13, it was good, but it wasn't great.
I think my end assessment of that was 12 was better, but you didn't like 12. I know that.
I didn't like 12. Sorry, no.
12 was better, but it was a great game. I really did enjoy playing through it. I mean, when it comes to games, I'm easy. If it's fun, it's fun, If it's good, it's good.
I mean, like, one of my favorite series is Grandia. I love the Grandia series. Absolutely love it.
And that's interesting because Grandia is a very, very unique series, and you don't really see that type of combat in games. You
don't, and I think that's an influence that's going to continue.
That was my next question. Yeah,
that's going to be an influence that's going to continue with me as we proceed onward. I think you're going to see more of the influences as time goes on, as with each incarnation of Chronicles of the Dark Lord.
And I definitely do see strong influences, but I see it kind of carving its own path as well.
Yes, I mean, obviously
it's not derivative.
Oh no. We obviously want to pay. We want to give our nod to those who came before us. Obviously, that's only we have that respect for those games that came before and really paved the way. But in addition to that, we really want to blaze our own path and say, well, this hasn't been done this way. We're going to do it our way.
Okay, and now would be the good time for the people who are hearing all this and they're probably saying, hey, this does sound pretty good. Where can they get this game?
Well, actually, you can get it over on Gamersgate. We have one of our distributors is Gamersgate. All you have to do is just go right to Gamersgate.com and you type in Chronicles of Dark Lord. It'll pop right up. Or you can also do it directly from our new site, which has actually been completely overhauled.
A good thing, too. I saw that old site.
Oh, it was horrible.
Yeah, it's kind of sad.
But yeah, we completely overhauled the site. It's going to be www.kasarstudios.com. We will be releasing that link in probably a few days. And
I think I saw the prototype version of it where it was kind of half done earlier today.
Yeah, it was half done. Yeah, it's still under construction, but it's looking a lot better than its predecessor.
Yeah. The design itself was improving, so you're definitely stepping in the right direction there. Now, of course, you mentioned Gamersgate. That's the downloaded version, but people can get a box copy of this.
Oh yes, if you go as soon as you be able to go to our website, then you guys just click on Colo Episode 1, and you'll see the purchase link for the box edition.
And Episode 2, when's that coming out?
Tentatively, we're looking at sometime around the Christmas shopping season. I can't say for sure, unfortunately. I would like to. Unfortunately, at this point in time, I can say it'll be around the Christmas shopping season, or it could be held back because of quality assurance purposes. We really want to release this in one go.
Yeah, you don't want patch after patch after patch.
No, we really don't.
It seems to me that a lot of developers, modern developers and major developers, have taken the attitude of get it out, wait for the fans to complain, and then patch it.
And that's one of the things that I really want us to be set apart from those developers. And no offense to those developers at all. I mean, they have some really great games out there.
Of course, yeah.
But they're unfortunately, I played Fallout New Vegas, and my friend, he joked remarking, and he remarked it. He goes, "New Bug Vegas." Because it was glitched. It was just It was very glitched.
Yeah, that brings me back, because I remember when the second Elder Scrolls came out, which was Daggerfall. Do you remember the nickname for it?
Oh.
Buggerfall.
Buggerfall, yeah. Yes.
Buggerfall.
And it's just I for every game that we release, and this is our company pledge.
So this is your mission statement here.
Yeah, this is our mission statement. We will not release any product, be it a game or any other media, until we are fully satisfied that it meets our strict standards of quality.
And what kind of other media would you have?
I can't really say for on air right now. I can't allude to it.
Let me reword it then. What kind of media would you like to have?
Well, we're actually. I would love to have our own merchandising line, which is something that I can allude to that has been in the works for quite some time.
Okay, so you're in talks there.
Mm-hmm. Okay. We also are. I would also allude to the fact that we would like to go with a particular line of merchandising where it involves things that are stuffed. We'll put it that way.
Things that are stuffed.
Yes.
So you're talking about plushies, in other words.
Maybe.
Okay. Allegedly.
Allegedly, yeah.
Allegedly. Well, there's not. I haven't noticed any characters in the game that are cuddly. So.
It's not so much they're cuddly.
Yeah.
There's actually some enemies that
Okay.
that
I was thinking something like the stuffed Keiko demon or something.
Oh. Well, you like I said, for the enemies and for particular characters, you know.
Okay, yeah. Well, that sounds good. Now, the game's universe, I should say, because you guys seem to be well into world building, started off as a pen and paper thing. Would you ever release a Chronicles of a Dark Lord pen and paper RPG?
Actually, yes, I actually can talk about that. Me and my co-founder, we were actually talking about the other day, is releasing a pen and paper, tabletop type thing, and we're already working out how we would do it and what the rules would be and so on and so forth. So actually, yeah, definitely look for that. That's definitely going to be a product and probably sometime within the next couple of years, so if not less.
And one thing we talked about also was the possibility of you having voice acting in the games in the future.
Oh, actually, it's more than a possibility. We're looking at episode 4. Not so much episode 3, but episode 4, we're looking at having full voice acting.
And would that be for everything or just cutscenes?
Mostly important cutscenes, although we'd like to have a lot of the semi-important scenes and semi-important characters have some dialogue of their own, but we'll see.
That makes sense to me, because sometimes if everything is voice acted, it's like I read faster than they can talk. And if I'm just talking to some guy who's telling me about, his bunion or whatever, I want to get through it,
Exactly, yes.
But for cutscenes and, like you said, semi-important things, I think that makes a lot of sense.
Well, yeah, I mean, I've played games, I'm sure you have as well, obviously, where, where you just want to get through the text. It's like, I read faster than I listen.
Yeah.
And, and I'm just trying to get through it because this guy is saying just nonsense to me, and I'm just like, well, okay, you can just stop talking about, how the chimney looks and just,
yeah.
Let me
don't want to mention any games by name. Oblivion,
Yeah, exactly.
Just wanted to, mention that. And I love that game, I really do.
Oh, so do I. I do too.
But sometimes I'm just like, why do you talk so slowly?
You mean they talk like this?
Well, some of them, the orcs are like that.
Yes. And then you have those others that go so fast you can't even hear what they're talking about.
At least you could read it, though, on the bottom of the screen.
True.
At least there's that. All right, well, it was great having you on.
Thank you very much. It was awesome. And like I said, for those people who are wondering, yeah, episode 2 due out sometime around the Christmas season. It might be a little bit later, depending upon how quality assurance goes. But yeah,
will people be able to pre-order that?
Oh yes, thank you for reminding me. Yes, we actually are going to be taking pre-orders starting October.
Okay, cool. Anything else you wanted to say before we get back to the show?
Just all of our fans and those who support us throughout all this time. Thank you very much. We really do appreciate it. We really do appreciate our fans, and we hope you enjoy the games.
Okay, I've certainly been enjoying it. Well, Tanya, great having you on.
Thank you very much.
And we'll have to have you on sometime in the future. Maybe you can tell us a little bit more about those Magisly plushies that you alluded to.
Definitely.
Because we know that's all anybody wants to hear about. That's what they want.
Right.
All right, well, back to the show then.
All right, thank you.
Golden Horn Castle from Kazara Studios' first game, Chronicles of a Dark Lord, Episode 1, Tides of Fate. And it's got some really cool music, as you guys can tell. They got an amazing composer working on it. I've had the pleasure of listening to some music from the sequel, which is coming out, and I gotta say, it sounds even better. They got the same guy back. They also have a few other people working on it. They got a band in there. It just sounds really, really epic and spectacular. And I thank Tanya for coming on the show. That was a great interview. I'm so glad she came on. Well, that's pretty much the show. We're going to end the show, as I always do, with the sales figures, so let's get to that. So here are the top 10 best-selling games in America for the week ending in June 18th. Number 1, we have Duke Nukem Forever for the Xbox 360, sold 184,154 copies. Duke Nukem Forever on PlayStation 3 sold 94,794 copies. Infamous 2 on PlayStation 3 sold 80,764 copies. Mario Kart Wii on the Wii sold 64,013 copies. Zumba Fitness on the Wii sold 55,552 copies. Wii Sports Resort on the Wii sold 54,677 copies. Duke Nukem Forever on PC sold 50,992 copies. Wii Sports on the Wii sold 50,951 copies. Wii Fit Plus on the Wii sold 46,832 copies, and LA Noire on the Xbox 360 sold 46,211 copies. The top 10 best-selling games in Japan, we have Zelda no Densetsu, Toki no Ocarina, which is we know as The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time 3D on the 3DS, sold 166,365 copies. Danball Senki on the PlayStation Portable sold 164,612 copies. Yuno Gotoku of the End, we know that as Yakuza of the End on PlayStation 3, sold 53,826 copies. Steins Gate Hikyoku Renri no... You know what? We'll just say it. Steins Gate... Damn. What a title on this. Steins Gate Hikyoku Renri no Darling. It's on the Xbox 360. It sold 35,745 copies. Biohazard The Mercenaries 3D, we of course know that as Resident Evil, on the 3DS sold 8,651 copies. Dragon Quest Monsters 2 Joker Professional, Dragon Quest Monsters Joker 2 Professional on the DS sold 8,175 copies. One Piece Unlimited Cruise SP on the 3DS sold 7,140 copies. Steins Gate on the Xbox 360. I guess there's two Steins Gate games. I never heard of this. It sold 7,032 copies. Battle and Get Pokemon Typing DS on the DS sold 6,784 copies. And Pocket Monsters Black and White version, of course we know that as Pokemon on the DS, sold 6,745 copies. In Europe, The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time 3D sold on the 3DS sold 125,282 copies. Wii Sports Resort on the Wii sold 57,728 copies. Zumba Fitness on the Wii sold 54,371 copies. Wii Sports on the Wii sold 53,213 copies. Infamous 2 on the PlayStation 3 sold 48,404 copies. Mario Kart Wii on the Wii sold 46,356 copies. LA Noire on PlayStation 3 sold 34,492 copies. Duke Nukem Forever for PlayStation 3 sold 30,277 copies. Pokemon Black and White version on the DS sold 29,028 copies, and Duke Nukem Forever for Xbox 360 sold 28,217 copies. So worldwide, the best-selling games were Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time 3D, Duke Nukem Forever for 360, Danball Senki, Infamous 2, Duke Nukem Forever on PlayStation 3, Wii Sports Resort, Mario Kart Wii, Zumba Fitness, Wii Sports, and Wii Fit Plus. For hardware, in America, the best-selling console this week was the Wii, with 92,028 units sold. After that, the Xbox 360 moved 72,239 units. The PlayStation 3, 58,661 units. The DS, 43,450 units. The 3DS, 20,210 units. And the PlayStation Portable, 16,972 units. In Japan, the top best-selling system was the 3DS with 40,445 units sold. PlayStation 3 sold 15,000. After that is the PSP, 31,681 units sold. Then PlayStation 3, 15,948 units sold. The DS, 9,271 units sold. The Wii, 7,110 units sold. The Xbox 360, 2,462 units sold. In Europe, the top best-selling console was the Wii, 75,963 Wii sold. 58,908 PlayStation 3s sold. We had 40,965 Xbox 360s sold. 36,900 3DSs sold. 35,413 DSs sold. And the PlayStation Portable sold 29,575 units. So, worldwide, the top selling... why can't I say top selling? I don't know. Worldwide, the top selling console was the Wii. Then the PS3, Xbox 360, 3DS, DS, and PSP was last. So, that'll be the show. Hope you enjoyed it. I sure as hell did. We'll see you next week. Leave me questions and comments. If you want to be on the show, contact me, and VMX out.